So can you tell us what your growth plan is? It's not one of the priorities of this budget. Are you still chairing the Growth Mission Board?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. First of all, we've been through this a number of times. There was new information after the general election. First of all, the £22 billion black hole in the public finances left by the previous government.
Which has been discredited by the Office for Budget Responsibility.
Not at all. The £22 billion black hole left by the previous government, which was set out to me by Treasury officials the weekend that I became Chancellor of the Exchequer, which we had to fill, and then the £16 billion downgrade to productivity, the impact that had on fiscal revenues, and as the Office of Budget Responsibility were very clear.
Picture the scene. You are Rachel Reeves, Chancellor of the Exchequer, sitting in front of the House of Commons Treasury Committee. You are supposed to be answering straightforward questions about your budget. Simple stuff, right? Except the questions keep getting sharper, the scrutiny keeps getting tougher, and suddenly you find yourself shouting, "No, no, no," at a Conservative MP like a toddler refusing to eat their vegetables. Welcome to December 2025, where Rachel Reeves is discovering that when your entire economic narrative is built on a foundation of dodgy figures and broken promises, eventually someone is going to call you out. And when they do, it gets messy. Very messy indeed. Quick favor before we dive into this absolute car crash. If you are already gripped by the chaos, hit that subscribe button and smash the notification bell. Over 94% of you have not subscribed yet. It is free, takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps us keep bringing you the political drama you crave. Cheers if you did. Now, let us get into this glorious mess. Right, so Rachel Reeves was summoned to appear before the House of Commons Treasury Committee to answer questions about the budget leaks that have turned her entire operation into a national joke. For those who have not been following this saga, Reeves delivered her autumn budget on November the 26th, but key details were leaked to the media beforehand with such precision that journalists were basically live-tweeting the contents hours before she stood up in Parliament. It was a catastrophic failure of security, discipline, and basic competence. So naturally, MPs wanted answers. Who leaked the budget? How did it happen? And what is being done about it? Reeves confirmed that an investigation is underway. Ministers, civil servants, and advisors are all being looked at to find the culprit. Which sounds responsible, except absolutely nobody believes this inquiry will find anything. Because the most likely explanation is that either Reeves herself sanctioned the leaks as part of some misguided media strategy, or she completely lost control of her team. Either way, it reflects appallingly on her leadership. You cannot run a government department if you cannot keep your own secrets. It is like being a spy who accidentally leaves classified documents on the bus. Not exactly confidence-inspiring. But the real fireworks started when Conservative MP Dame Harriet Baldwin began pressing Reeves on the justification for her tax rises. Because Reeves has spent months banging on about the £22 billion black hole she supposedly inherited from a previous Conservative government. It has become her go-to excuse for everything. Energy bills too high? Black hole. Growth sluggish? Black hole. Cat stuck up a tree? Probably the black hole. She uses it like a political get-out-of-jail-free card, as if repeating the phrase enough times will make people forget that she is the one actually in charge now. Dame Harriet was not having it. She pointed out that the claim about the £22 billion black hole has been discredited by the Office of Budget Responsibility, the official Treasury watchdog. Now, that is a devastating blow, because the OBI is supposed to be independent, impartial, and authoritative. If they are saying your central economic claim does not hold up, you have got a serious problem. It is like telling everyone you are 6 foot tall and then having someone whip out a tape measure and prove you are 5'9". Awkward. But did Reeves back down? Did she acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, her numbers were questionable? Absolutely not. She doubled down. She insisted. Not at all. The £22 billion black hole left by the previous government that was set out to me by Treasury officials the weekend I became Chancellor of the Exchequer, which we had to fill, and then the £16 billion downgrade to productivity. She added that Labour had to do additional tax raising because of the mess left by the previous government. Now, let us unpack this for a second. Reeves is essentially saying, I was told there was a black hole, so there was a black hole, end of story. except the independent watchdog whose entire job is to verify these things is saying it does not stack up. So either the OBR is wrong, which seems unlikely given their track record, or Reeves is being, shall we say, economical with the truth. And when you are the Chancellor of the Exchequer, being economical with the truth about the economy is not just bad politics. It is potentially disqualifying. Dame Harriet tried to push back, but Reeves cut her off with a snippy. Well, shall I finish answering your question, Dame Harriet? Which is parliamentary speak for shut up and let me talk. The tone was defensive, irritated, and frankly, a bit rude. MPs are supposed to hold the government to account. That is literally their job. But Reeves was treating it like a personal attack rather than legitimate scrutiny. Then came the moment that really set things off. Dame Harriet asked a perfectly reasonable question. So you chose not to put any pro-growth measures in this budget. It is a fair point. Reeves has talked endlessly about growing the economy, but her actual budget was heavy on tax rises and light on credible growth policies. So Dame Harriet called her out on it, and Reeves absolutely lost it. She snapped back, that is, no, like a malfunctioning robot stuck on repeat. As Dame Harriet tried to respond, Reeves went full authoritarian. Dame Harriet, do not contradict what I have just said. Imagine the audacity of that statement. An elected member of parliament, doing her job by questioning government policy, being told not to contradict the Chancellor. It is a kind of response you would expect from someone who is used to getting their own way and cannot handle being challenged. Reeves then insisted that she did not say there were no growth measures in the budget, even though her own words strongly suggested exactly that. So what were these miraculous growth measures she was so proud of? Well, she highlighted plans to build a new runway at Heathrow Airport and a film studio in Marlow, Buckinghamshire. Let that sink in for a moment. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, when asked how she plans to grow the British economy after imposing billions of pounds worth of tax rises, points to an airport runway and a film studio. Not comprehensive tax reform. Not massive investment in infrastructure across the country. Not policies to boost productivity or innovation. An airport runway and a film studio. It is like being asked how you plan to lose weight and responding, I am thinking about maybe going for a walk next Thursday. But Dame Harriet was not done. She pressed further, asking whether Reeves accepts that a revealed preference across two budgets is to hike taxes a lot. And then she delivered the killer blow. This impression that you are ready to go for tax rises is going to hang over this country for the rest of this parliament. That is not just criticism. That is a political epitaph. Dame Harriet is basically saying, you have branded yourself as a tax-hiking chancellor, and that reputation is going to destroy your government. Reeves, clearly rattled, tried to pivot back to blaming the Conservatives. Of course, the previous government took taxes to a record high, she said, which is true, but also completely irrelevant to the question, because voters do not care who started it. They care about what is happening now. And what is happening now is that Labour, under Reeves's stewardship, is raising taxes even higher. You cannot spend years criticizing the Tories for high taxes and then raise them even more while claiming the moral high ground. It does not work like that. But the committee members were not letting her off the hook. They kept interrupting, kept pushing back, and Reeves kept getting more defensive. At one point she snapped, No, I am not surprised you do not want to hear about the previous government, nor do voters. Which is a fascinating deflection, because actually, voters are very interested in the previous government, but not in the way Reeves thinks. They are interested in whether Labour is actually doing things differently or just repeating the same mistakes with a different coloured rosette. And based on Reeves's performance, the answer seems to be the latter. Dame Harriet also made an excellent point about the budget leaks. She said that the leaks in the run-up to the budget had prevented businesses from investing in the UK. And she is absolutely right. When investors see a government that cannot keep its own secrets, that leaks sensitive economic information all over press, they start to wonder what else is going wrong. Competence matters. Stability matters. And Reeves has demonstrated neither. The broader issue here is that Reeves seems fundamentally unable to take responsibility for anything. Everything is the Tories' fault. The black hole is their fault. The tax rises are their fault. The sluggish growth is their fault. The budget leaks? Probably someone else's fault too. At some point, you have to own your decisions. You have to stand up and say, Yes, we raised taxes. Here's why, and here's how it is going to improve things. But Reeves cannot do that because deep down, she knows her economic strategy is not working. Growth is anemic. Markets are nervous. Businesses are hesitant. And no amount of blaming the previous government is going to change that reality. And let us talk about the £22 billion black hole again, because it is the linchpin of Reeves's entire narrative. If that figure is dodgy, if it has been discredited by the OBR as Dame Harriet claims, then the whole justification for Labour's tax rises collapses. It means Reeves has been misleading the public for months. It means she imposed billions of pounds of tax rises based on a false premise. And it means she owes the British people an apology and an explanation. But instead of humility, we get defensiveness. Instead of transparency, we get deflection. Instead of accountability, we get blame shifting. And that is what makes this so frustrating to watch. Because there's a legitimate case to be made for some tax rises. Public services are struggling. The NHS needs investment. Infrastructure is crumbling. But you cannot make that case honestly if you are building it on a foundation of questionable figures and dodgy accounting. The other problem for Reeves is that her behavior in this committee hearing looked terrible. She was snappy, defensive, and dismissive. She talked over MPs. She refused to let them finish questions. She got visibly angry when challenged. That is not how a competent Chancellor behaves. A competent Chancellor stays calm, answers questions directly, acknowledges legitimate concerns, and makes a persuasive case for their policies. Reeves did none of that. She looked rattled, cornered, and out of her depth. And here is the kicker. This is only going to get worse. Because the economic data is not improving. Growth forecasts are being downgraded. Borrowing costs are rising. Consumer confidence is shaky. And every time Reeves stands up and blames the Tories, people roll their eyes a little harder. There is a shelf life to that excuse, and it expired months ago. At some point, you actually have to deliver results. You actually have to show that your policies are working. And so far, Reeves has not done that. Dame Harriet's warning about tax rises hanging over the country for the rest of this parliament is spot on. Because once you establish a reputation as a chancellor who raises taxes at every opportunity, businesses and investors start planning accordingly. They hold off on investments. They move operations abroad.